Hello everyone, and welcome to the Daily War Brief. Today, news about the United States and Iran remains the center of global attention. The market is practically breathing in sync with every statement made by Donald Trump. Whenever he threatens to attack Iran, oil prices immediately surge, and whenever he signals willingness to negotiate, oil prices drop right away. According to media speculation, there is a high chance that the US and Iran will hold a second round of negotiations this weekend. This time, the location may be in Geneva, Switzerland, rather than Pakistan like the first round. Most likely, because Pakistan doesn't have enough influence to deal with the US. So, the venue may shift to Switzerland. According to the New York Times, during the recent negotiations in Pakistan, the two sides argued over the duration of suspending uranium enrichment. Iran only wants a 5-year suspension, while the US demands 20 years. This information has not yet been officially confirmed by either side. However, if it is true, it shows how much the US has already stepped down. Before the conflict, Trump insisted that Iran must completely dismantle its nuclear program, meaning permanently giving up any nuclear capability. But now, that demand has been reduced to 20 years. Trump supporters might say this is just his usual negotiation tactic, starting high to bargain down, and that his public statements shouldn't be taken too literally. However, regardless of that, it's clear that the fundamental conflict between the US and Iran has not been fully resolved. Trump has spent a lot of resources trying to treat the disease, but the root cause is still there. Even if Iran agrees to stop enriching uranium for 20 years, that means in year 21, they could simply restart and develop nuclear weapons again. Not to mention the deeper religious tensions between Iran and Israel. So the root problem remains unresolved. Still, looking at it from a positive perspective, if the two sides can reach any agreement at all, for example, Iran agreeing to stop enrichment for 10 years, that would already be a success for the world. The reason is simple. Real change has to happen gradually, not suddenly. Sudden change causes shock and unpredictable reactions. It's like losing weight. You have to do it gradually. If you lose 10 kilograms in a week, something is definitely wrong. Or, like driving on a highway, you can't go from 120 kilometers per hour to 0 instantly without crashing. Nuclear negotiations are the same. You can't force Iran to give up nuclear weapons overnight. It has to be a gradual process. Maybe pause for 10 years first. During those 10 years, if cooperation goes well, and Iran sees economic growth and improved living standards, then future negotiations could go even further. If after 10 years Iran is still poor, they might go back to nuclear development. But if the country becomes prosperous and integrated with the global economy, then giving up nuclear weapons altogether becomes a much easier choice. Because what's the point of having nuclear weapons if people are still poor? After all, how often can you actually use a nuclear weapon? Very rarely. In fact, historically, only the US has ever used nuclear weapons in war. That's why everyone hopes the US and Iran can reach some kind of agreement. Iran wants 5 years. The US wants 20. So maybe meeting in the middle at 10-15 years would work. That way, both sides can go home and claim victory. As for the Strait of Hormuz, just clear the mines and reopen it. No need to argue endlessly. But today, there's another new piece of news that makes many people realize that Trump's strategy to squeeze China is actually very systematic and calculated, not as simple or naive as he appears in the media. While the world is focused on the Strait of Hormuz and Trump's repeated ultimatums, the U.S. has just announced a defense cooperation agreement with Indonesia. Specifically, the two countries are focusing on three main areas: military modernization, training and capacity building, joint exercises, and operational coordination. This has led many analysts to believe that Trump may be trying to choke off all of China's oil supply routes. This cooperation is mainly focused on maritime strategy. Therefore, it is highly likely that the U.S. next target will be the Strait of Malacca. This is actually China's true choke point. About 80% of China's oil imports pass through this strait. Hormuz is important, but Malacca is even more critical. Back in 2003, then Chinese President Hu Jintao described this as the Malacca dilemma. China depends heavily on this route but has no control over it, leaving them stuck. To grow, they must import oil, but if Malacca is blocked, China's economy would be paralyzed. This is why China has been aggressively developing alternatives: solar energy, EV batteries, pipelines from Russia, the Myanmar corridor, and even pushing Thailand to build the Kra Canal. If that canal is completed, Chinese ships could bypass Malacca entirely. But, unfortunately for China, none of these solutions fully solve the problem. The cheapest and most efficient way to transport oil is still by sea. Maritime routes are a gift of nature. No construction, no maintenance. A single tanker can carry millions of barrels from the Middle East to China without stopping. In contrast, pipelines are expensive to build, maintain, and protect. There are also geopolitical risks. Countries along the route may not allow military protection, and conflicts could damage the infrastructure. That's why maritime transport remains the best option for China, especially as the factory of the world, which depends on cheap energy to stay competitive. This is why many believe that with the US-Indonesia defense cooperation, once tensions in Hormuz cool down, the Strait of Malacca could become the next hotspot. And when Donald Trump visits China next month, there will be a lot on the table to negotiate.